Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this evening. We'll call to order this meeting of the Murray City Municipal Council for Tuesday, May 3rd. For the record, all council members are in attendance, and along with the mayor, welcome. We invite you to turn off any of your cell phones or put them on silent or any other electronic devices, if you would, to help us maintain the decorum of the meeting. Don't laugh when I say that, Jim. Also to remind you that this meeting is being streamed live on the internet on murraycitylive.com and can be viewed later for, well, on demand, if you'd like. We'll start with our opening ceremonies. We've asked Brandon Birmingham to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Brandon, if you'd come forward.
These right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brandon. Next item on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes from the council meeting of April 5th, 2016, as well as our council meeting of April 19th, 2016. Are there any additions, corrections, or comments on the minutes?
I'd move approval for both sets of minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Brass and a second by Ms. Turner. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to item 5.3, special recognition. We're very pleased tonight to have the swearing in of a new Murray City police officer, Dylan Sorensen. And we'll have you, Chief Burnett, take the lead on that.
Thank you. This is, as always, an exciting time for us when we get to expand or welcome new members into our police department. And we always say family, but this time we really mean it for a lot of different reasons. We've waited a long time for this. And I'm sure it's been even longer for him. In July, we were given 3 new positions to fill. Dylan is the third one, so that fills everything up, and we're all ready to go. But then Jeff Maglish, for those of you who don't know, snuck out last week and retired on us. So he did it quietly and quickly and left. But we're excited for what we have here. Dylan, why don't you come on up? Dylan, when we talk about Murray being a family, that's exactly what he is. Dylan, obviously, is Murray kid through and through, born and raised here, family working for the city. Dylan was one of our cadets. He worked, he was one of Jeff Maglish's cadets, worked his way through. This is exciting for me because this means now there's 4 of us that have come up through the cadet program that are now working for Murray Police, and we're all still here, including me, because I'm the oldest of them all. So we're excited for that. Dylan applied with us. We could see that he is a quality young man, and there were other agencies looking at him at the same time, so we grabbed him. We've put him on our payroll, and he's been working since January. While he finished the community college post, we paid for him to finish that, and then so he's been here a long time, doing a lot of training and a lot of things. He's more than ready to get out and start doing his job. So we're excited to have him here, and we know he's going to be an asset to the citizens of Murray and the city and the police department for many years to come. So let's get you sworn in.
All right.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dylan Sorensen,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support, obey, and defend
to support, obey, and defend
the Constitution
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and perform the duties of my office
and perform the duties of my
as
office
a Murray City Police Officer
as a Murray City police officer
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
We'll have your mom come up and pin your badge on. Got the vest on so she can't poke you real bad. Oh, yeah. Wish till he screams. Thank you.
Welcome, Dylan.
Dylan, can I say something, Blair?
Please.
I've known Dylan for most of his life, and let me just tell you, he's probably one of the finest young men I know. He's honest, respectful, and he didn't get it from his father. I think he got it from his mother. But anyway, welcome, Dylan. You're going to be a great asset to the police department.
Dylan, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. You'll be called worse. Just not for many of us up here.
No.
Thank you, and welcome to the police department and to the city. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 5.3.2, presentation of the Rain Harvest Award of Excellence to Murray City for its partnership in the Rain Harvest Program. Nick Scow of the Utah Rivers Council. Oh, there you are.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, members of the council, Mayor Iyer. My name is Nick Scow. I'm the Conservation Director for Utah Rivers Council. We're a 501c3 nonprofit located in Salt Lake City, and this is our 21st year of operations. One of the things we do is promote water conservation initiatives. Few people realize here in Utah we have the highest per person water use in the United States. We also have, as our population grows in this urban area, increasing water quality problems. And so we created a program, well, and then on top of it, we've had recent years of drought compounded on top of each other. So we created a program called Rain Harvest to encourage residents to collect rainwater and use that water to reduce our water use and improve water quality, because less water is able to scour our streets, pick up urban pollutants, and wash it into our waterways. And Murray was an outstanding partner. They were one of the first, or the first city that wanted to partner with us. They're absolutely phenomenal to work with. And this program went absolutely viral last year. We were just trying to get maybe 200 rain barrels out into the community, and we ended up getting well over 2,300 rain barrels out in the community. That means every time it rains enough to fill a 50-gallon barrel, we save 115,000 gallons of water. That'll become millions of gallons of water over time. And this is really all because of Murray's leadership. Murray stepped up, and I want to in particular recognize the Water and Superintendent Danny Astill for his excellent partnership, and also Murray staff that worked some of the events with us. But when Mayor Iyer stood up and put his name on it, many other cities jumped forward afterward and were eager to partner on the program and help to reduce water use. I can tell you more numbers, but I don't want to bore you, and I want to keep this quick. Many more municipalities joined, but this is really the best part, is that we were able to reach over 1,000 different families and households through the program last year and begin them on a lifelong path of water stewardship. And that is really what was the most amazing part of the program. I think Danny will tell you as well, is that all the phone calls we got from people eager to do their part. And because of Murray's outstanding partnership and real needed leadership on water conservation and water quality improvement, we wanted to recognize Mayor Iyer and the Water Department with an award, which we're calling the Rain Harvest Award of Excellence. Mayor Iyer?
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the council.
Can I just say something? It was really Nick that put this together. Nick put together such an incredible program that as soon as we heard it, we knew this was a win-win for our community. And we were proud to be one of the first cities to step forward and say we would like to introduce this. And really excited that other cities joined in with us. At the press conference we had down at the park, I can't remember how many mayors were down there, and other mayors that had called in and said, hey, we want to be involved in this as well. So we're grateful for this award, and we're so thankful for the way Nick put this whole entire program together and the success for it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. Appreciate the work you're doing on that.
I'll say.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. This is the time for citizen comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on any topic except for the one that will be coming up for public hearing a little bit later. Is there anyone who would like to address the council this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next item. We have no consent agenda this evening, so we will have a public hearing. Item 8.1.1 will be to consider consider a resolution approving the mayor's award of 2 separate $1,000 college scholarships to 2 local high school students. Mayor?
As each of you know by looking over the budget, each year there's a line item in the budget for the mayor's office for mayor's special projects. And we use this money for, for instance, we even use it today when we had meetings that spanned lunch hour and we had to send out and get some box lunches to cover that. Or if someone passes away and we send flowers to their spouse or their family members, or thank you cards that we give to some of our employees. Well, some of those smaller items like that, you wouldn't want us coming to you every time we want to get a box lunch or every time we want to send flowers to someone. But in this in the mayor's special projects line item this year, I've asked that we use a portion of that, $2,000, $1,000 each, to go to a student, a Murray resident who is a student at Cottonwood High School and Murray High School. And I've met with the principals up there and the counselors and told them, we sent them a letter also outlining the parameters of this scholarship. And we wanted this scholarship to go to someone who might not otherwise be normally available for a scholarship. It's not based on GPA. It's not based on athletics. It's not based on music. It's based on what have you contributed to your community and your school, and what things have you overcome to be able to go to college. And so these are kind of disadvantaged kids that have really struggled to overcome and might not otherwise have the support structure that would allow them to receive a scholarship of this type. So the way it's administered, to let you know, in case you have a question about this, the money is actually given to a school. The school puts it in a trust fund, and the trust fund holds it until the student is going to the school. And then once they go to the school, they get a hold of the school and make sure the money is transferred to the school. So it's not handed to the student or anything else. We've already received applications from both schools or recommendations from their principals and their counselors as of students that would qualify under that criteria. So tonight I'm just asking you to consider that resolution that would approve this appropriation of that funds for that use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions of the mayor? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so we'll now open the matter up for public comment. If there is anyone here who would like to comment, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing then and bring it back to the council for consideration and/or discussion.
If there's no discussion, I'll make a motion. I move that we approve a resolution, that we approve the mayor's award of 2 separate 1,000 college scholarships to 2 local high school students, namely Cottonwood and Murray.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hales and a second by Mr. Brass. Any discussion on the motion? We'll call for a vote then, Jennifer.
Mr. Brass.
Aye.
Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Held.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I think that's a great program. Okay, we have no unfinished business, so we'll move to item 10, new business. 10.1 is to consider a resolution approving an interlocal agreement for the sale of renewable power from Intermountain Power Project as amended, and authorizing the execution and deliverance thereof, and of renewal offer documents. Blaine?
He could hardly wait.
Waiting 50 years. Right? Mayor and Council, I'm glad to be here again tonight. We've talked about this issue ad nauseum, you might think.
Pretty close.
We've talked in committee the whole meeting about this. We're asking you to do 2 measures tonight. The first is to adopt a resolution that will allow us to enter into an agreement for a renewal power agreement for 50 years with the IPA. Second matter is to pass a resolution that will allow us to go into an excess power sales agreement. And I'll explain those, not in a lot of detail because you already have the detail. But I appreciate the council and the attorney's office in helping us get to this point. This has been years of negotiation to get to this point. Negotiation with the California entities that are partners in the IPA group, as well as, I guess, negotiations amongst the other Utah entities that also are involved with this. The IPA group, of course, consists of 23 Utahns, 6 co-ops, or cooperative electrical utilities, and 6 California entities. And this IPA project was begun back in the 1980s. The contract expires in 2027, and that's why we're here. What's going to happen at the coal-fired plant after 2027 is the issue at hand. And as you know, California legislation has allowed the California entities not to bring coal-fired generation across state lines soon. In fact, it's sooner than the 2027, but the California entities that we're involved with were bound until June 16th of 2027 to take power from the IPA. So let me quickly review where we are and what we're asking you to do. Now, the existing contract consists of a few things. Well, first of all, there will be no contract after 2027. The Californians walk away from the coal-fired plant and give ownership to the Utahns. And that's an issue we'll have to face when the time comes. We have 4% entitlement in the plant. Existing now is 1,800 megawatts. 4% of that is 72. So Murray has entitlement or ownership or allowance to bring back 72 megawatts. Now, that's quite a bit of energy. Our load today is around 70 megawatts. In the summer, it's going to go up to about 110 megawatts. And as of right now, we have other ways to bring power into the city. So we're not calling back IPA at all and haven't done so for about 6 or 7 years. We have cheaper places to buy power. But this coal-fired plant's been our ace in the hole. This has been in our back pocket all the time, so we could call it back if we needed to. So we have 4% entitlement to that. Also, with the plant generation, also there's transmission entitlement too. That has a value. In fact, we have quite a bit of entitlement that goes down to Southern California if we had to use it. The problem with the contract is you have to call back the generation to get the transmission. Kind of complicated, I know, but trust me on that. We've called up to 25 megawatts in the past, 25 of our 72. We did that for one season. That was right after the Enron situation when things were really tight in the market in the western United States. We called back 25 megawatts, but we haven't called back anything in the last 5 or 6 years because of, one, the natural gas prices have been so low that we've been able to get cheaper electricity on the market. So what's going to happen? What are we asking you to do tonight? We're asking you to pass a resolution that will allow us to, by signature, continue with this plant after 2027. Nothing different is going to take place until June 16th, 2027. But starting that day, there'll be a new plant, and it'll be built in the meantime. And there'll be new partners, perhaps new partners, and there'll be new operation methods, I guess you could say. This is what's going to happen after 2027. The plant will not be coal-fired. It'll be natural gas, and that's going to happen right away. Remember, we passed the second mandatory agreement a couple weeks ago, if not a couple months ago, and that allowed us as IPA entities to build a natural gas power plant to replace the coal-fired plant. That was a big step forward that we took, as did all the other Utahns and Californians. So there'll be a natural gas-fired plant that will receive gas from either the Kern River Pipeline or other pipelines that are going along the western part of Utah down into Southern California. Most of it comes from the Wyoming Basin, and they'll easily build a 40, 50-mile spur line over to the plant and pick up the natural gas. So the fuel supply will be there for natural gas. The price, well, that's as volatile as day to day. We're not sure what the price will be in 2076, 2050. We're not sure. But all roads focus on natural gas as being the resource where we should move towards. Nuclear is coming into the mix, and I'll bring that back to you at a later date, perhaps as another option. We will continue to have 4% entitlement in the plant after 2027. The plant will not be sized at 1,800 megawatts. In fact, we're told it's going to be at least dropped down to 1,200 megawatts, which is a 33% reduction. And it may even go as low as 600 megawatts, which is a 66% reduction. We don't have any control over the size of the plant. LADWP, Los Angeles Department of Water Power, is the one that's going to control the size of the plant. And if I can kind of explain that in a simple term, our callback, the Utah callback is 200 megawatts, and that's a pretty good chunk. Up until this point, LA had to absorb the callback in addition to what their own load was. And that's been very hard for them to do that. For example, if they called back 600 megawatts and suddenly Utah called back 200, they would have to come up with 200 on their own because they had planned on using Utah's load to cover their own load. Probably not a very good explanation of how that happens, but they're going to size the plant accordingly. We think it's going to be about 800 or 900 megawatts, meaning it's going to be about half the size of what the plant is now. That would still allow us to have 4% of that entitlement. If it's cut in half to a 900 megawatt plant, we're still going to have 72 divided by 2, which is 36. 36 megawatts in our back pocket is still a good resource. Now remember, we're asking LA to build this plant, and they're going to build it on their own dime. Not one penny of Murray is going to go towards that. Yet at the end of the contract or during the contract, we can call that back as we want. And if we don't want it, we can lay it back to them. That's the beauty of the contract. Nowhere else in the world, I don't think, do you have a contract where you can pick and choose what kind of the size of resource you want and give it back and forth. Now, the reason why LA is doing this is because they build it in Utah. They have an allegiance, a loyalty to the Utah customers, and they need it. 1/3 of LA's energy. Think of the LA basin, and LA DWP has 3 million customers. 1/3 of that comes from Utah's Delta Power Plant. That's the size of the plant. 1 million people receive their energy from that plant. LA's not going to walk away from this. They're going to bond for it in IPA's name, but LA's not going to walk away from this. And that's good for us. I mean, they're going to build a plant, and then they're going to turn it over to us in 2077 if we're around. But I feel very comfortable in acknowledging this. Now, there's going to be some Californians that are going to drop out of this. LA's going to pick up the slack. There are 6 Californians involved right now. Anaheim is no longer interested after 2027. The other 5, or the 4, I guess it would be, are still interested. All messages I'm getting that all the Utahns will re-up. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer. If somebody will build a resource and a plant for you and allow you to pick and choose and the kilowatts you want out of it and really not cost any more money to you, why wouldn't you do that? So I think Utahns will all do that. Now, there's a deadline of May 25th. This is a soft deadline that we have to pass this resolution by. A reason why I say soft is that the Utahns can act faster than the Californians can on adopting the same type of resolution you're asking tonight. The Californians have to go to their CEC or their California Energy Commission or their Public Service Commission to get approval that they can build a plant in Utah before the cities can take it back to their council. It's kind of backwards to what we do. So they're going through the rigmaroles of state government right now to try to get the okay to build the plant. Then they're all going to go back to their 5 city councils and ask for the same thing that we're asking you to do, is pass a resolution that allows us to go into the agreement to build this plant. This is a big day for Murray. This is a 50-year commitment. That's why the decorum in this meeting is very tight right now, Blair. And if we lose the decorum, the mayor can probably catch up later on his address. So we're asking you to commit to 50 years. It's a big commitment. There is one escape clause we can get on it, and that is that we can sell our entitlement to somebody else or assign our entitlement to somebody else in Utah. If we decide that we want, let's say, 2% entitlement instead of 4%, even at a later date, we can go back and do that. But to me, 4% is the highest in the state. We're the biggest user. We're kind of setting the example. There are 11 cities in Utah that have already passed the resolution that's in front of you today. And there are, let's see, 6 more next week, and I think there's 4 tonight that are approaching their council as well. So all 23 Utahns by the end of May will have passed this resolution, and then we'll be waiting for the Californians to do it. So the May 25th deadline is soft. It'll probably be in the end of July. If the council wants to sit on this another 2 months, we can. I don't think you want to. Let's decide yes or no what we're going to do. So with your signature, I don't want to sound too rah-rah about this, but this is a vote for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren too. So we recommend to staff that you do pass a resolution and allow us to enter into that agreement. And then on item number 2, we'll talk about the excess power sales agreement, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, that is agenda separate, so I'd like to take that separate, yeah. Any questions of Blaine?
Oh, just clarification, Blaine, on the 4%, that is assuming no Utah cities drop out. We could have more or less, right?
That's right. I think that, go ahead.
In the second or third round so it could be more than 4%.
Yeah. We won't drop below 4%, but if they're, let's say Parowan leaves something on the table they don't want to, we can pick that up as well. Yeah, you're right, Frank.
And the reduction in capacity, which, of course, we would prefer it not to happen. It should not impact the decision because we have to sell our excess power to Los Angeles and whatever amount that is. So really, it's no choice, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The 4% is the key number. It's not 72 megawatts. It's the 4%. 4% of whatever size the plant is. And that size of the plant might not even be until 2019 or 2020. The reason being is in 2019, the Californians are given an off-ramp if they don't want to stay in the project. So they may think of we may have a 1,000-megawatt plant. Glendale, Burbank, and Riverside decide in 2019 they don't want part of the project. Well, LA would downsize that plant to 800 or whatever. So it's a moving number, and we won't know until 2020. But 4% of our future is something. I mean, it's a resource. It's in our back pocket. It's not going to cost us anything unless we call it back. And even if we do call it back, it's going to be in the range, the market range. It's not going to be exorbitant. It's not going to be out of whack unless natural gases just totally go out of sight. But that's not projected.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Any discussion? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving an interlocal agreement for the sale of renewable power from the Intermountain Power Project as amended and authorizing the execution and deliverance thereof and of renewal offer documents.
I have a motion by Mr. Naponsky. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Brass. Any discussion on the motion? Jennifer?
Mr. Brass?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, and the next item on the agenda, Blaine, is consider a resolution approving an interlocal agreement for the sale of renewable excess power from the IPP as amended and authorizing the execution and deliverance thereof.
Thank you, Blair. Also, thanks for the vote. Council's come to me with a lot of good questions about that. I've spent some one-on-one time with you on the renewal, as well as this excess power sales agreement. So thanks for taking this serious, and thanks for thinking serious about this, because this was a big vote tonight. Okay, this is a different resolution, different agreement. This excess power sales agreement is the callback we talk about. We call it as a callback. This is an agreement between Murray City, IPA, and LADWP. LA is the California entity that participates in the callback. The other 5 Californians aren't involved with the callback. When I say callback, as I've alluded to, if we determine we want some megawatts for the summer season, we can give them written notice and say we want to call back X amount of our entitlement for just the summer season, and then when our loads drop off in the wintertime, we'll give it back to California. It's a give and take type of deal. And that's worked splendidly for the past 20, 30, 25 years, and we intend to do that in the future. This excess power sales agreement's really more important than the renewal in a way. If we were just to pass this renewal, which you just did, without the excess power sales agreement, we would have been bound to take in 4% of our entitlement forever and ever. And that would have been too many megawatts for me to manage. We would have had to have laid off some of our cheaper contracts. But with this excess power sales agreement, that allows us to leave it on the table if we don't want it, or take it off the table for our use. This is very important. One can't go without the other. We will still be allowed a 4% entitlement. And once again, this is all 2027. Everything stays the same until 2027. And after that, this new excess power sales agreement will come into effect. Right now, we can call back up to 4% of our entitlement through the summer season or the winter season. These are 6-month seasons. And we have done that in the past, like I mentioned. We have to give them, LA, 6 months notice for this. I'm talking about the present contract right now. 6 months notice. And then we can return it back after 6-month notice. And also with the generation comes transmission. So those are the key four key things that we have right now. And we're going to have those 4 things in the agreement afterwards with a few tweaks. Not twerks, tweaks. What's a twerk? I didn't say twerp. I said twerk. We'll get 4% entitlement as well in the next go round too. The season will be a little bit different. It'll be a 4-month summer season from June until June, July, August, September. It'll be an 8-month winter season. We put that into negotiations. Personally, we did that as Murray because that helps us out to have a 4-month summer season and an 8-month winter season. The reason being is when we called back our resources back in the old, in the present scheme. There were several months, like April and May, where we had to call back an entire summer allotment, and we couldn't use the energy in April and May because our loads weren't high enough. And so we were having to call back for only 4 months, and it really hurt us because sometimes we were paying for energy we left on the table and couldn't use during those 2 months. With this new excess power sales agreement, we'll have a 4-month summer season. It's going to fit more nicely into our load. And the 8-month winter season, we have excess, and that we'll probably never call that back. There are other Utahns that have just a counter to that. Heber City, for example, peaks in the wintertime. They want the 8-month callback in the wintertime and 4-month in the summer. It just depends on the Utah entity and how they wanted to do it. But we were stronger than Heber, I guess you could say, and we put that into the contract. So it's a 4-month summer, 8 months winter. We have to give them a 1-year notice on this one, not 6 months. That's not a big issue to us, though. The callback, if we ever call it back after 2027, would be a 3-year commitment. We would call it back for 3 years. On the 4th year, we can lay it halfway back, half of our allotment back, and on the 5th year, we can lay back the last half. So it's a 5-year cycle now. It will be from beginning to end. Right now, it's a 6-month one. This is something that LA didn't really want to back down on. Put your shoes in LA's. Put your in LA's shoes. They were having to account for Utah's callback as well as their own load. And when we just came up with a 6-month callback at 25 megawatts like that one year, they scrambled. Because they said, oh, Utah's come to the table, now we've got to go back and get capacity from somewhere else because they called it back. So I feel for LA in a way, in that they wanted a little more stability, and a little more length. So there was no way we could get around that 3-year callback, and that's just something we had to do. But still, what other contract do you have where you can give and take and come and go as you wanted to? They've also come to the table and said that we can pattern our callback, and that's going to come into big benefit to us, meaning we won't have to call it back between 1 and 6 in the morning when we don't need it, and we can call it back a little bit more during the afternoon hours. This plays into our load a lot better. This is something they haven't been willing to do up to this point. When we did it before, it was a set amount every hour of the day, and that sometimes hurt us because we don't need the load in the middle of the morning. So by them allowing to pattern it, that's going to help us out as well. I think that's about the bullet points. I've taken a lot longer than I should have, but the transmission comes with the generation, just like it does in the regular. There may be a market to transmission in years to come, who knows? And us having access to the transmission line from Delta down to Adelanto, California, where the other side of the DC transmission line is, that may come into value at some point in time. Who knows? It may be more valuable in the generation at some point in time. Who knows? Let me check my notes one more time, but I think that's... So we need this excess power sales agreement to tie with the renewal. One without the other is going to put Murray into a big bind. Once again, I appreciate Frank and Bryant's help in getting us to this point. We've had a lot of meetings with IPA Council. Bryant's been to California a couple of times with me, with their council, and in the process of this. And they've had to look through this, and this is the 2 contracts that you probably looked through as well. Hopefully not. But we appreciate Frank and Brian on that. Council, thanks for your thinking of this. It's a thumbs up in my recommendation.
Yes.
Frank?
Sorry, but the callback provision was critical. In fact, we were concerned that we wouldn't get that. And without the callback provision, we'd be in serious trouble. And I know that on behalf of all the Utah cities and IPA, it was Blaine Hackey that negotiated that callback provision. So kudos to Blaine. That he did a great job in negotiating that provision. We might have not have had one.
Thanks, Frank. Let me add that if we had not had some type of callback, I wouldn't have brought the renewal to you. We would have walked away from the plan. But thank you.
I have a question, Blaine. Do I understand correctly that 3-year commitment can be modified by mutual agreement if we don't want the power for 3 years and LA agrees to take it? Or
yeah, anything's possible when LA is the key player. I would think that they would want to stick with the 3-year. Anything's negotiable, yeah. I think we need to vote as if this 3 years is going to stick, and it's going to stick for the 3 years, but you're right.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I'd like to move to adopt the resolution approving an interlocal agreement for the sale of renewable excess power from the Intermountain Power Project as amended, and authorizing the execution and deliverance thereof.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion by Ms. Turner and a second by Mr. Hales. Any discussion on the motion?
I would just like to thank you, Blaine, for being so patient with me because, reading all that stuff, and I mean, this is really important, technical, but again, really important for Murray. So thank you for being there for us and always available, especially for me. So thanks.
It's a learning process for all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
once in 50 years you go through this, and you were the lucky one.
And you've learned to speak on our level, so we appreciate it.
Okay, we'll call the question.
It's a step up for me, though.
Thank you.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Thank you, Blaine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blaine.
Item 10.3 is to consider a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and Salt Lake County Department of Community Services for receipt by the city of tract funds. Doug Hill.
The Murray Park Amphitheater was constructed by the city in 1982. So that makes it now almost 35 years old. And over that period of time, the amphitheater's benefited our community in many ways, of which you're aware of. We've had numerous cultural performances there. We've had many education events that have occurred there. We've hosted beauty pageants and award ceremonies, and it continues to be a very popular facility in Murray Park. However, like everything, over time it ages. We find that there's greater needs and things that we need to add to the facility to make it better. So approximately 2 years ago, we asked the mayor and the council to fund a study of the amphitheater, and that was completed, and the architect who we hired made several recommendations on what we should do to bring the amphitheater into compliance with a number of codes as well as uses, and the study is recommending that we add a new plaza to the amphitheater, change the entrance, to add a new steel canopy over the roof of the stage, a new control booth for lighting and sound, a new stage, a loading dock, concession area ticketing, additional restrooms, additional storage and dressing rooms, as well as ADA and safety improvements. Of course, all this comes with a cost. The architect's estimate came in at about $2.5 million, a little over $2.5 million to make all of these improvements. So to Mayor Iyer's credit, he is a member of the Salt Lake County Track Board, TRCC, which stands for Tourism, Recreation, Cultural, and Convention Tax. So anytime somebody comes and stays in Salt Lake County in a hotel or rents a car, there's a tax that's collected. It goes to the county, and this track board entertains applications each year, and they ultimately decide how they want to spend those funds. And so we put in an application to remodel the amphitheater because of Mayor Iyer's participation and influence. The county agreed to fund us up to 50% of the cost, or $1.273 million. And so the agreement that's before you tonight to consider is an agreement that would transfer those funds to Murray City over a period of two calendar years, the county's budget calendar years. So we would get half of that $1.2 million this calendar year. We would get the remaining half next calendar year. But our hope is that we can, of course, well, let me back up. The city is required, however, to match this. It's a 50% match. And so our hope is that we can come up with the funds. The city can come up with the funds to match the money that the county will provide, that we can begin design of this project as soon as possible. As soon as the agreement, assuming the agreement is approved tonight, we'll return it to the county and ask them to send us the money. And then we want to start working on the design and get it ready to go to bid sometime later this summer, so that we can start construction in the fall and have all of these improvements completed before the summer season next year, which would all be within the next fiscal year budget of the city. And it's my understanding, Justin will be talking about the budget tonight. The mayor will be presenting the budget tonight. It's my understanding that this is one of the components that is going to be proposed in the budget. So again, assuming that you agree with the mayor's budget and that the money is available next fiscal year, then that will provide our match and we'll be able to complete this project. So that's what you're committing to tonight by entering into this or approving this agreement, is that we'll come up with the matching funds and be able to complete the project. Of course, there is the agreement is subject to appropriation of funds, so you're really not committed until the funds are appropriated through the budget process. But I want to make sure you know what you're doing by approving this agreement with Salt Lake County this evening, if you so choose to approve it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Doug? Okay, thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Just exciting to be able to have that done. That's all, that is going to be wonderful, Doug and Mayor, and it's going to be great.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
I move to adopt the resolution approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between the city and Salt Lake County Department of Community Services for receipt of the city of by the city of TRCC funds.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. Turner and a second by Mr. Brass. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you again, Doug, for your work on that, and Mayor for your efforts on getting that too. Next item on the agenda is 10.4, the presentation of the mayor's fiscal year 2016-2017 budget address. Mayor?
Members of the City Council, fellow residents, employees, and staff, thank you for giving me a few moments tonight to present my budget recommendations for the proposed fiscal year budget for 2016 and 2017. This is a combined result of a great deal of hard work by our department heads, staff, and especially our Finance Director, Justin Zollinger. It is with deep appreciation that I present for your consideration my third budget. It is amazing to me how fast the time has gone by and on how many projects we have worked on together. However, I think each of us are more excited about the future than the accomplishments of the past. Since a picture is worth 1,000 words, tonight I'm going to share with you some of the things in our city that the budget will address. The revenue sources that provide for our city's operating budget come from several different entities. The largest portion comes from sales tax, approximately 33.2% of the overall budget. We are extremely fortunate to have over 3,700 businesses in our community that provide goods and services not only for our residents, but for the tens of thousands that come here each day to shop, dine, work, and recreate. In the past couple of years, we have had a year-to-year growth in our sales tax. This allows for a corresponding 11.57% increase in the general fund. The other major source of revenue comes from property tax. This equals roughly 14.4% of our general fund budget. This visual represents the overall property tax bill our residents receive and what portion comes directly to the city. As you can see, of the total amount, we only receive 13.54% of the funds. Due to extremely wise and conservative financial decisions, we have not raised the residential property tax since 2006. And I am happy to report that we are not increasing any property taxes again this year. This small amount of funding is designated to help with many projects and services. With the improved economic conditions, we are able to have our projected sales tax handle any additional costs that we have. Because of the leadership of our department heads, the guidance and direction from our finance department, and the decisions of this council, we continue to be one of only 2 cities in the state to maintain a AAA bond rating. As you know, our existing city hall has many challenges that can no longer be ignored. The building was remodeled in the early 1980s and has served us well for 35 years. However, It is not built to current seismic standards, the roof and the windows leak, and the infrastructure needs to be replaced. From an economic development point of view, this State Street property would be more valuable for additional development, and the City Hall could be placed in a different area in the city. $3 million has already been saved towards this project. Our finance director has planned and saved and is preparing to pay off our current bonds at the end of the year, with the anticipation of allowing the current payments for the future bonds to equal the cost of the new City Hall bond payments. There isn't a day that goes by without discussion on how to improve our downtown area. This is as exciting for me as I'm sure it is for you. We have had new projects in our downtown area, and it is just the beginning of an exciting new face and atmosphere for our city. This is such a prime area of our community. We are fortunate to have some very talented local partners and developers with a great vision for the future as the project gets underway. Several types of funding will be used in this area, such as redevelopment agency and tax increment finance dollars. This will give us a boost in helping us with some of the basic infrastructure improvements. We are anxious for this downtown redevelopment project to complement the other great businesses we have in our city. In the same area, the oldest fire station that was built in 1979 is located on 4800 South. As the downtown development takes place, we will probably need to relocate this station. We have property in mind as to where we could construct a new Station 81, and will do that as the timing dictates. As we have stated, we have already started to save for this in our present budget. As we are talking about our public safety departments, efforts are made each year to maintain our public safety equipment, to update the best technology possible, and to keep other items current. Ambulances don't have a very long service life. On a regular basis, funds are budgeted for purchases of new ones. This year, to extend the life of one of our ambulances, it is being rebuilt. This effort will save the city $45,000, as the refurbishing cost is $185,000 compared to the cost of $230,000 for a new one. This will provide extra time to save money to purchase new ones in the future. The new fire truck we budgeted for in past years has just arrived, and we received our new ambulance just a few months ago. These were both purchased by careful savings through the years, just as we are currently doing now for future vehicles. As part of our CIP planning, in the police department, 10 new vehicles are scheduled to be purchased and rotated to keep our fleet as current as possible. We also have budgeted for a new fingerprinting and palm scan machine for our police department. In the budget, we have projected an increase in sales tax revenue of 10.83%. We always appreciate new opportunities for business growth in our city. Fashion Place Mall is a great example of a vibrant location that is continually recreating itself to keep that reputation. The Macy's that is currently under construction will be another wonderful anchor tenant there. Also, 53,000 square feet of new retail space will be constructed, which will add additional businesses along with tax growth. Having new jobs and new residences in the city create a greater demand for goods and services. These expanded opportunities for increased revenue will create a healthy mix in our community. We are looking forward to having Security National expand their facilities at 53rd South, just west of I-15. The first phase includes a large parking deck and 250,000 square feet of office space. This will bring many new jobs and economic opportunities to our city. We are very fortunate to have one of the finest parks in the entire state of Utah. We have budgeted for many upgrades to this facilities in the park. The Murray Amphitheater, as Doug just stated, is a favorite spot for many of our residents and others to enjoy family entertainment with local performers. This facility was built in 1982 and is in need of updating and renovation. We have just been awarded $1.2 million from the Salt Lake County Track Funds to make improvements to the amphitheater and the surrounding areas. We have budgeted the matching portion of this grant in our budget. We will be able to improve the area with new fencing, a plaza, path, steel canopy, control booth, and stage. The concession area, ticketing booth, additional restrooms, easier ADA accessibility, safety improvements, and other projects will be done and added as well. Salt Lake County has a program to help communities with facilities which is called the ZAP tax. The funds are collected for several years and then distributed to the cities in the county based on applications that they make. We have submitted an application asking for several items to enhance our beautiful park. I have proposed that a splash pad be built where the old ice skating rink is located, in addition to new restrooms at the same place. Our portion of the funding for this has been included in this budget, and we are hopeful to have it built within 18 months, depending on ZAP funds being available. This will add another fun family feature to the great amenities in our park. The city has owned the old Armory building just east of the Boys and Girls Club for several years and has discussed many options for its use. We feel its best use is that of a community center. When incorporated into the park, it will not only be a beautiful repurposed building, but will add additional green space to the park. The funding for this upgrade is included in the ZAP grant proposal. We also included upgrades for the pavilions and the Vita course in the park. These drawings show some of the innovative plans that will bring a fresh new feel to the park. The sprinkling system at the Murray Parkway Golf Course has been in need of replacement for several years. This is a $2 million project, and we are going to be able to undertake it this year. It will be done in a careful and thoughtful fashion to allow play to continue through the season. This will help our golf course maintain its reputation as a premier course for years to come. In the proposed budget, there is approximately $2.6 million from various sources to make improvements and maintenance on our roads throughout our city. Some of our roads that we will be addressing are Fashion Boulevard, the Chevy Chase and Wesley areas, McHenry Street, Sanford Drive, and Murray Parkway Avenue. Our crews are going to be extremely busy this year. The Power Department is undertaking a several-year project to replace the street lighting in our city with new LED fixtures. With over 3,000 lights in our city, this will be a big effort, and $135,000 is programmed in this budget to begin the project. The goal is to have matching features throughout the city. In the long run, these bulbs will save money and energy. Because of the willingness of all the department heads to cooperate in holding their budgets as tight as possible, we are able to once again provide employee compensation through cost of living and merit increases. Always when considering employee compensation, I remember that we are a service organization, and I feel that our employees go the extra mile to provide the best services possible to our residents. That means that we need good people to meet the needs in our city. I am amazed at the great employees who work at the city and their wide variety of talents. It is a pleasure to see their dedication and interest in serving our citizens. With the merit system in place, we are able to reward those who go the extra mile to do their jobs. This year, I am recommending a 1% cost of living or COLA increase and up to a 4% merit increase. Based on employee evaluations. This year, with the help of our Human Resource Director, Mike Terry, and department heads, we were able to discuss every individual city employee and evaluate individually their salaries. If departmental adjustments were needed, we were able to do that this year in addition to a bonus for our Red Line employees. Also, Because of the careful use of our health insurance by employees, we were fortunate to only see an increase in premiums of less than half of what it was last year, and the city will continue to cover that cost as well. It is such a privilege to work with such great employees, and I'm excited to be able to provide these increases as a reward for their hard work and dedication. Working within the framework of the required balanced budget, we have compiled a budget that addresses our daily operating cost, capital improvements, and employee compensations. I would also like to once again pay tribute to our department heads and the leadership that they provide. I truly feel that we have the finest staff in the entire state. In conclusion, I would like to add a final comment. After having the privilege over the past 2 years of seeing nearly every aspect of what makes a city work, and after being part of 3 different fiscal year budgets based on balancing our needs with available tax revenues, I have come to this conclusion. What a bargain. We live in a community with clean, safe neighborhoods, world-class medical facilities, wonderful choices in shopping and dining, great schools, and ever-expanding economic opportunities. However, within the last week, the national news just announced that for the first time, the millennials now outnumber us baby boomers. We have the responsibility to hand off this great bargain to the next generation. We need to ensure that there will be new, good-paying jobs through wise economic development, increased affordable housing, and a new downtown area that will be environmentally friendly, walkable, bikeable, and a fun place to congregate. We need to ensure that our vision of the future is their vision of the future. Thank you so much for the privilege to serve with you in this great endeavor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Nicely done.
Well done. As you're handing that out, I'll note that the next item on the agenda is to consider a resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2016-2017 tentative budget from the mayor and the budget officer, and referring the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a resolution, make a motion to adopt the resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2016-2017 tentative budget from the mayor and budget officer, and referring the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion by Mr. Brass and a second by Mr. Nick Ponsky. Any discussion on the motion?
Just did a fantastic job.
5%. That's pretty good.
Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you again, Mayor and Justin, and Brenda, and the whole staff. Thank you, and the department heads. We recognize how much work you go through also as you develop this budget each year, and so thank you for your work on that. Next item then is item 11.1, report of the mayor. Do you have another report or a further report for us tonight, Mayor?
It's just my night to be on tonight. Just a few items I'd like to bring to your attention. The League of City and Towns, in conjunction with Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox and Gail Miller, KSL News, and law enforcement agencies around the state have started a new program. And the program is referred to Beyond the Badge. And it's a program to recognize our outstanding public safety officers in protecting our residents and our community. Our police chief, Craig Burnett, is supportive of this program and has already started to communicate to some of his managers to look for opportunities where we could submit applications for this beyond the badge recognition. So we support that very much. This last Thursday, every month we have a meeting called COM, Council of Mayors, and we hosted it here in Murray last week. And it was a very informative meeting. We've changed the format a little bit on that Council of Mayors, Conference of Mayors, meeting. And it's been an open format. I think we had 13 or 14 mayors here at our meeting last time. And we just discuss items that might be of helpful use to all of the different cities. And it's really been a great year to be able to host that here. The power department put together these bulbs that you've found for swag, or stuff we all get at those. And we passed them out. We had them on all the tables, and they were the hit of the day. If you get a chance to read what the power department wrote in there, and I think this is Greg Ballon and Matt Young that really put this together. That is really informative about LED lights. And so there was quite a few empty chairs at our meeting, but when we left, there wasn't a single light bulb left.
Yeah.
Some of them had 2 or 3 in their purse, and so it was a great meeting. We just want to thank Matt Young and Greg Ballon for their efforts on that. Last Wednesday, Murray hosted a very successful economic forum. We had about 30 people out to the economic forum, and we were able to talk to them a little bit about what was going on in the city. And then Tim and Jennifer had arranged for this, I don't know if you saw it or not, this beautiful trolley that we all were able to get on this trolley and drive all the way around the city. And Tim was the master of ceremonies, and he talked about all the economic development and, throughout the city, and everybody really enjoyed that. We also were able to show the video once again of Murray, and it got an ovation. And 2 of the people that were there in the conference were 2 of the people that helped make the video from Love Communications. So that was the first time they had seen it in that kind of forum before, so it was very nice. And then the last item I'd just like to bring to your attention, I was able to meet with David Grauer today for a few minutes and tell him how much we appreciate everything he's done for the city. Friday will be his last day. And Thursday there is an open house for him over at the Doty Center. So if you have the opportunity between 2:30 and 3:30, I think it is, on Thursday, to go over and see David Grauer and tell him how much you appreciate all that he's done for our city, I'm sure that he would love to see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions of the mayor from the council? Okay, we'll be adjourned.